I know when it comes to this Houston Texans offensive line, change might seem like a good thing. And change in the offseason will happen. The Texans will have to adjust this offensive line, change it up. But the offseason ain't here yet, baby. The Kansas City Chiefs stand in the way of the Houston Texans going where the Houston Texans have never gone before. That's the AFC Championship. To get past the Kansas City Chiefs, you're going to have an excellent game from this offensive line of the Houston Texans. Now, I know what you're saying, Cody, they haven't had many excellent performances over the course of the 2024 season, and that would be correct. They have not had many excellent performances, but they had a little juice the past game plus along the offensive line. The move of Titus Howard from right tackle to left guard, inserting Blake Fisher in at right tackle, has proven to be a positive step for the offensive line. It's not been a huge leap forward, but they're a little bit better since they made that adjustment and they made that change. And then the insertion of Juice Scruggs at the right guard spot once he got healthy and Shaq Mason wasn't healthy, that's been good too. I mean, the offensive line against the Los Angeles Chargers had a really nice performance. That's a really, really good defensive line for the Los Angeles Chargers. Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa and all the different weapons that they have to get after the quarterback. And I felt like that was a pretty solid overall performance from the Houston Texans against the Chargers. Still a little hiccup here or there. Khalil Mack going untouched to CJ Stroud. That's not good, but overall solid performance. They were able to run great at the end, get the rushing attack going at the end. So change in the offseason, a good thing. Change this week, not really on the table as far as I'm concerned. Hopefully not on the table for the Houston Texans. Now they've got an interesting opportunity here. Shaq Mason back at practice this week. Juice Scruggs back at practice after missing a practice. And if both of them are healthy, certainly the Texans will have to decide between Shaq Mason at right guard and between Juice Scruggs at right guard. So Juice Scruggs at right guard, the right guard for the past couple of games and the success already in the playoffs against a pretty good defensive front, or Shaq Mason, the guard who has been the right guard for most of the season and actually was the right guard the last time the Texans played the Kansas City Chiefs. He got hurt in that game. Kendrick Green replaced him with the mixed results. That's ultimately what led to Scruggs, once he was healthy, getting the opportunity at right guard. Now, with both of them healthy, what do you do? Well, if you believe that numbers never lie, then you're going to be on the side of change. The numbers from Pro Football Focus, they go through and grade each offensive lineman overall, and then they grade their run blocking and their pass blocking. The numbers from Pro Football Focus in the last two full games that these guys have played, it leans a little bit towards Shaq Mason. Mason was pretty darn good in those full games before he got hurt in Kansas City, and Juice Scruggs' grades have not been excellent in the past two games. Now, again, that's the grades of the individual player. But if you're a numbers never lie person, then you're going to say, hey, take Juice Scruggs, put him on the bench, plop Shaq Mason back in there at right guard, and that's the Texans' offensive line. But as much as I trust the numbers and I like them as a reference point, I'm not going to go with the numbers on this one, because for an offensive line, and certainly this offensive line, the sum is greater than the whole of the parts. So Juice Scruggs might not have as good a stats individually compared to Shaq Mason against a couple of different opponents, but Scruggs with the other four offensive linemen have provided the best opportunity for the Houston Texans to succeed along the offensive line. They've got to be excellent this week against the Kansas City Chiefs. This is a really, really tough Kansas City Chiefs defensive front. Steve Spagnuolo, the defensive coordinator for the Kansas City Chiefs, is excellent in dialing up exactly when to blitz, when to make life a living hell, and of course, one of the best defensive players and one of the best playoff performers in all of football is lining up across this Texans offensive line. That's Chris Jones, the defensive tackle, though sometimes he lines up at end for the Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, just listen to Bobby Slowick talk about Chris Jones and how important he is to that Kansas City defense.
Yeah, it starts with Chris Jones. Really an unbelievable football player. And when we were playing them and he was out there, obviously presents a lot of problems presents a lot of problems to a lot of defenses, makes you do adjustments in the run game and the pass game, and Spags does a fantastic job being very aware of that. And they have a lot of schematic things they do to kind of counter how you feel you may have to handle Chris Jones.
So when you talk about having to block Chris Jones, as good as he was, Bobby Slowick mentioned it there, and you think about what else the Chiefs have at their disposal, like George Karlaftis, who's a dangerous guy off the edge, you got to have a solid offensive line, and not making a change is what I would do if I was the Houston Texans. I wouldn't change anything. I know Shaq Mason's healthy. I know Shaq Mason's got an opportunity to play in this one. Don't play Shaq Mason instead of Juice Scruggs. Keep the offensive line. Earlier in the season, a lot of conversation about continuity, keeping things going, keeping things on the right direction, getting guys used to playing with each other. Don't go swapping and adjusting and changing things now if you're the Houston Texans. And Bobby Slowick, when he was asked about the offensive line, I would go as far as to say he was non-committal to anything. He just gave a stock coach speak answer about what they're going to do on the offensive line.
I think it's a continuous work in progress. We'll see how Shaq looked as we go through this week. We'll see how Juice looks, and we'll see what we think is the best combination of the five to have out there to help us go win that game. But that really is going to be an ongoing process through the rest of this week up until the game.
So again, pretty stock answer. Didn't reveal his hand, didn't show anything. And the Texans didn't really show anything at practice this week. When they had Scruggs and Mason available in their drills, they repped all sorts of different things in the drills. They didn't assemble that first-team offensive line with C.J. Stroud and Nico Collins and the other wide receivers and Joe Mixon at running back in the open portion available to the media. So they're playing it close to the vest. But I hopefully think when they put their cards on the table, it's going to be Laramie Tunsil at left tackle, Titus Howard at left guard, Jarrett Patterson at center, Juice Scruggs at right guard, and the rookie Blake Fisher at right tackle. And Fisher, he's had some impressive performances the past couple of weeks. I liked his game against the Chargers. I know he had a hiccup here or there, but he's coming along nicely. I like him at right tackle. Scruggs at right guard, that right side better than it has been for most of this season. So changes in the offseason, sure. Changes ahead of Kansas City, not for me. What say you? Let me know in the comment section down below on your way down there. Throw me a thumbs up on the video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Don't forget about SNL, my friend Landry Locker from the Locker Room. Tons of stuff for you on that channel, as well as over on the Locker Room where he does all his work as well. And don't forget Houston football. Tons of stuff on Houston football ahead of this game, after this game, the offseason, whenever it gets here. Hopefully not Sunday. Hopefully it's a few weeks after this game against the Kansas City Chiefs. Appreciate you watching the video. Hope you enjoyed it. And I can't wait until we talk Texans again soon.